Welcome to the Warp. I'm Jack Rita with Future Pastimes. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Intimidate cards for Cosmic Encounter. This is a unique card that only appears in the Cosmic Dominion expansion reward deck. So, it's 4 cards that are part of that reward deck. It's probably the most complicated card to understand, although hopefully at the end of this video you will realize, yeah, that's not that complicated. It's actually pretty cool, pretty unique card. It does have a rather storied development. It started off as a concept for a defend card, and then at one point it was a reflect card, then it was an ultimatum card, and I talk about that more in other videos where I'm talking about the reward deck. But I wanted to just focus on this particular card so that players can understand what it is, how it works, why it's cool. So there are 4 of them. They have values 39, 29, 19, and -9. They look like encounter cards, but in fact they are not encounter cards per se. And in fact, they say Intimidate on the top and not Encounter, which the encounter cards do say. And how they work, the one thing that's important for you to understand and how they work is that anybody can play them. As any player, they're played face down, but you do announce that you're playing an Intimidate. And it doesn't say that here on this text full of stuff, and it's all useful stuff on there, but it should probably have been included. Announce that you're playing this, similar to how you have to announce that you're playing a kicker. You don't just put it down there and people wonder why you have 2 encounter cards. You say, yeah, I'm playing a kicker. And then you play your encounter card, and people understand how kickers work, then it's no trouble. Same thing with Intimidates, though. You just say, I'm playing an Intimidate. Now, if you are a main player and you play an Intimidate, it will become your encounter card. So it will count as your encounter card. When you get to the planning phase, you will not be doing any more planning. You are done. And what's interesting about that is you have basically pre-selected your encounter card, and this makes you immune to certain effects like Oracle or Magician. And there are other aliens that are stymied a little bit by the Intimidate cards. And then when you get to the reveal phase, you will reveal the card. So let's talk about the reveal, and then we'll talk about what happens when other people play Intimidate cards. So it says on there, if it is opposed by an attack card, it becomes an attack card with that value. So this would turn into an attack -9, which is certainly not normally a good card, but you have as high as a 39, and then a 29 and a 19, and these are all very good attack cards to have in an encounter against most other attack cards. But the player that you are opposing knows that you have played an Intimidate because you did announce that you were doing so. And the idea is that the card is supposed to intimidate you into not playing an attack card, but rather playing a negotiate card or something else. Because if this is opposed by anything other than an attack card, it becomes a negotiate. So you're trying to intimidate your opponent into getting into a deal situation. And it's one in which they know that it will happen. It's not like, hey, in the normal planning phase, I'm playing a negotiate card. You just have to trust that I'm doing that. Here you know that they're playing an Intimidate, and you know that if you either are unable or unwilling to play a negotiate card, that you're in for probably a rough time. Now, the -9 is there for the bluffing purposes, or you can say, yeah, I got an Intimidate. Are you intimidated? And the other player might be, well, maybe I am, but maybe not. Let's go for it, because if that's the -9, then I'm probably going to win this encounter quite handily. And of course, there are aliens like Antimatter, like Loser, like Spiff, that don't mind having a very low, and this would be the lowest, attack card value that they could reveal in an encounter. So that's how the Intimidate works for the main player. But what makes this an extra cool card is the fact that non-main players can play them as well. And what effect does that have on the game? So let's say that I'm purple, and red's having their encounter, they're encountering blue. And as soon as Destiny's determined, I say, you know what? I'm playing an Intimidate card. And what I've just done there is I've said, hey, somebody should invite me into this encounter, because if they do, they could potentially use this card instead of whatever it is that they're going to be playing themselves. Now, as a non-main player, I know that if the main player on my side chooses to reveal my Intimidate card instead of whatever card they play in the planning phase, that there's a good chance that it will create a deal situation and I'll be cut out of it. But there are going to be plenty of circumstances in the game where that's really not an issue. And actually, you want that to happen. You want that deal situation to happen, or you may have knowledge that they can't play a negotiate card. And what we really need in this situation is a fairly high-valued attack card to help us to win. So that is some of the value there. There are also reasons why you may want to have somebody else in the encounter playing an Intimidate, and that is because of effects like Oracle or Magician or some other alien that is going to be put into a terrible situation, like Trader. Like, you may have a great hand and you've just traded hands with Trader, and now you're worried that you're left with their garbage. All they left you with was attack 0 and attack 4. But now you have an ally with a potential attack 29 or 39, and then they can reveal that card instead, and Trader's plans are now ruined. You also have the kind of mind game where I've announced I'm playing an Intimidate, and Red invites me to ally, and we're in the situation, and Blue is like, well, I don't want to lose this encounter, so I'm going to play my Negotiate. And then my ally says, you know what? Thanks, Purple, for that Intimidate, but I'm not going to use it. I'm going to reveal this card, and voila, Blue has negotiated, Red attacked, our side wins, and my Intimidate goes back into my hand unrevealed. And that's what happens with anybody who plays an Intimidate card. If you don't actually end up revealing it, it returns to your hand. So if I am a main player, I can play the Intimidate down much earlier. But if, say, one of my allies also has an Intimidate and I reveal their card, mine will go back into my hand. So those are the ways, and I've had these come up in a lot of games that created just some really interesting and unusual situations and loopholes by design that we're like, oh, this is going to happen. But guess what? If I don't actually reveal this card, it won't happen. I'm going to reveal their Intimidate, and then let's roll the dice and see what happens. So I like these cards a lot. There's only 4 of them in the reward deck. So even if you're only using the Cosmic Dominion reward deck, which is 32 cards, it's only 4 out of those. And of course, we now live in a world of Cosmic Encounter in the Fantasy Flight Edition, where there are 3 reward decks that you can combine. So these don't come up very often under any circumstances. So it makes them extra special when they do. So I like them. They also have the added bonus of, if you get plagued, you have to discard and Intimidate if you have one. And aliens like Love and Hate, they can say, you know what, I am discarding an Intimidate. And if everybody else doesn't discard the same type, there's going to be repercussions on there. So I like having another type of card in the game, because it plays around with those kinds of effects. So that's Intimidate. Let me know what you think of Intimidates, if you've used them, if you've left them out, if you have any interesting stories involving the Intimidate. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. Thinking about maybe adding one more Intimidate into my Beyond Odyssey Tabletop Simulator version of Cosmic Encounter. What should that value be? I like that they all end in 9, so I'm probably not going to buck that trend. But I'm curious to hear if there should be something much lower, much higher, or should we just fill in the gap with a 9 and leave it at that. So that's it for Intimidates. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon.